If you're watching this video right now, you've probably been doing everything right. You went no contact. You've disappeared from their life. You stopped chasing. You followed all the advice about strategic silence, and yet your ex still hasn't come back. In fact, it seems like they've moved on completely. They're posting happy pictures on social media. They seem feeny. Maybe they're even with someone new, and you're sitting there wondering what the hell went wrong. Did the silence strategy fail? Did you waste weeks or months of your life following advice that doesn't actually work? Or worse, did you push them away forever by disappearing? Today, I'm going to reveal something that will completely change how you understand the no-contact strategy. I'm going to show you the critical mistakes that sabotage the silent strategy, even when you think you're doing everything perfectly. And I'm going to explain why your ex hasn't come back yet and what that actually means about your situation. Before we continue, hit the subscribe button, because on this channel, we reveal the uncomfortable truths about human psychology, attraction, and relationships that most people are too afraid to discuss. Now, let me start with a truth that might sting. The silent strategy is not magic. It's not a guaranteed formula. It's not a manipulation technique that works on every human being in every situation. What it actually is a psychological reset button that creates the conditions for attraction to potentially return. But here's what nobody tells you. There are 5 critical variables that determine whether silence will work in your specific situation. And if you get even one of these variables wrong, the entire strategy collapses. Let me explain each one. The first variable is the reason they left. This is absolutely crucial, and most people completely ignore it. Not all breakups are created equal. If your ex left because the attraction faded, because the relationship became too predictable, because you became too available or too needy, then silence is incredibly powerful. Why? Because silence directly addresses the core problem. It recreates mystery. It recreates scarcity. It forces them to experience your absence and potentially miss what they took for granted. But if your ex left because of a fundamental incompatibility, because of a deal-breaker issue that silence cannot fix, because they met someone they believe is genuinely better for them, or because of a betrayal or breach of trust that destroyed the foundation, then silence alone will not bring them back. Silence cannot fix a relationship where the core issue was never about attraction dynamics. It cannot make you compatible with someone you're fundamentally incompatible with. It cannot erase a betrayal. It cannot compete with someone they genuinely love more. So the first question you need to ask yourself with brutal honesty is this: why did they really leave? Not the surface reason they gave you, not the excuse. The real reason, if the real reason was about attraction dynamics, about them taking you for granted, about the relationship losing its spark, then silence is your most powerful tool. But if the real reason was something deeper, something structural, then silence is just the first step. You need to address the actual issue. The second variable is how you implemented the silence, and this is where most people fail without even realizing it. They think they're doing no contact correctly, but they're actually sabotaging themselves in subtle ways. Let me give you the most common mistakes. First, the social media mistake. You went silent in direct communication, but your social media is screaming desperation. You're posting sad quotes. You're posting thirst traps clearly designed to get their attention. You're posting things that obviously reference the relationship or the breakup. Every single one of these posts is a form of contact. It's a message. And the message is, I'm not actually okay. I'm still completely focused on you. I'm trying to manipulate you into responding. This destroys the entire psychological effect of silence. Second, the mutual friends mistake. You're not contacting them directly, but you're constantly asking mutual friends about them. You're bringing them up in conversations. You're engineering situations where you'll run into them. This is not silence. This is surveillance. And trust me, they know you're doing it. Information travels, and when they find out you're still obsessing over them through back channels, the power dynamic you were trying to create completely evaporates. Third, the breadcrumb mistake. They send you a casual message. Something like, "Hey, how are you?" Or, "I saw something that reminded me of you," and you respond immediately with a friendly, engaging message. You think you're playing it cool, but you just showed them that you're still available. You're still their backup plan. You're still waiting. The correct response to a breadcrumb is either complete silence or a response so brief and disinterested that it communicates you've genuinely moved on. Something like, "I'm good, thanks," and then nothing else, no questions, no engagement, no opening for conversation. Fourth, the timeline mistake. You did no contact for 2 weeks and then gave up because nothing happened. Or you did it for a month and decided it wasn't working. Here's the truth. 2 weeks is nothing. A month is nothing. The psychological process I described in previous videos, the phases of relief, curiosity, fear, and desperation. These don't happen on your timeline. They happened on a timeline determined by your ex's psychology, their attachment style, their life circumstances, and the specific dynamics of your relationship. For some people, the fear phase hits in 3 weeks. For others, it takes 3 months. For others, 6 months. If you break silence too early, you reset the entire process back to zero. The third variable is their attachment style, and this is something most relationship advice completely ignores. If your ex has an avoidant attachment style, silence is extremely effective. Why? Because avoidant people are terrified of engulfment. They need space. They need independence. When you chase them, you trigger their deepest fear and they run further. But when you disappear, when you give them the space they crave, something interesting happens. The fear of engulfment disappears, and underneath it, there's often a fear of abandonment that they've been suppressing. Your silence can activate that fear and make them reach out. But if your ex has an anxious attachment style, silence works differently. Anxious people fear abandonment above all else. When you go silent, you're triggering their core wound. They might initially panic. They might reach out desperately, but if you maintain silence through that phase, they often convince themselves that you've abandoned them, and they force themselves to move on as a protection mechanism. They might jump into a rebound relationship quickly, not because they're over you, but because they cannot tolerate being alone with the abandonment feeling. And if your ex has a secure attachment style, silence works. But only if the relationship was genuinely good and the breakup was about temporary circumstances or fixable issues. Secure people don't play games. If they left for a good reason, your silence will just confirm to them that breaking up was the right decision. They'll respect your space and move on. So you need to understand who you're dealing with. The strategy that works on an avoidant will backfire on an anxious person. The approach that works on a secure person will be ineffective on an avoidant. The fourth variable is what's happening in their life right now. And this is the variable you have the least control over, but it's incredibly important. If your ex is in a rebound relationship, silence is actually perfect. Why? Because rebound relationships are usually about avoiding the pain of the breakup, about filling the void, about proving to themselves and others that they're desirable. These relationships are built on a foundation of avoidance, not genuine connection. And they almost always fail. Your silence during this period is crucial because it allows the rebound to run its natural course without you interfering. If you break silence while they're in a rebound, you just push them closer to that person. But if you maintain silence when the rebound inevitably fails, you're the one they'll think about. However, if your ex is going through a major life transition, a new job, a move to a new city, a family crisis, your silence might not register at all. They're too consumed by what's happening in their life to think about you. This doesn't mean the strategy failed. It means the timing is off. They're not in a psychological space where they can process the relationship or miss you. You need to be patient. And if your ex has genuinely moved on, if they've met someone they're truly compatible with, if they've done the internal work to heal and grow, then silence is not going to bring them back. And honestly, you shouldn't want it to, because that means they've found something real, and you deserve to find something real too, not to be someone's second choice. The fifth variable, and this is the one that nobody talks about, is what you're doing during the silence, because here's the brutal truth. If you're sitting at home obsessing over your ex, stalking their social media, analyzing every possible sign, waiting desperately for them to reach out, then you're not actually implementing the strategy correctly. You're just performing silence while remaining emotionally enslaved. And that energy, that desperate, waiting, hoping energy, it comes through. It comes through in the few interactions you might have. It comes through in your social media. It comes through in how you show up in the world. But if you're using the silence period to genuinely work on yourself, to rebuild your life, to reconnect with your purpose, to become a more attractive version of yourself, then something magical happens. You stop caring as much whether they come back or not. And paradoxically, that's when they're most likely to come back. Because you've actually changed. You've actually become someone different. You're no longer the person they left. You're no longer needy or desperate. You've become genuinely scarce and genuinely valuable. So let me ask you directly, what have you actually done during your silence period? Have you gone to therapy to understand your patterns? Have you hit the gym and transformed your physical health? Have you pursued a goal or dream you'd been putting off? Have you developed new skills? Have you built new friendships? Have you dated other people to remind yourself that your ex is not the only option? If you haven't done any of these things, then you're not doing strategic silence. You're just hiding and hoping. And that doesn't work. Now, let me address the question you're really asking. If I've been doing silence and my ex hasn't come back, does that mean it's over? Not necessarily. Here's what it actually means. It means one of three things. First possibility, you haven't waited long enough. The psychological process is still unfolding. They're still in the relief or curiosity phase. They haven't hit the fear and desperation phase yet. Your job is to maintain the silence and continue working on yourself. Second possibility, you've made one of the critical mistakes I outlined earlier. You think you're doing no contact, but you're actually breaking it in subtle ways. Your social media is too revealing. You're responding to you're asking about them through mutual friends. You need to audit your behavior honestly and close those leaks. Third possibility, and you need to be prepared for this, they're genuinely not coming back. Not because the strategy failed, but because the relationship wasn't meant to continue. Maybe the incompatibility was too fundamental. Maybe they've genuinely found someone better suited for them. Maybe the timing is permanently wrong. And if that's the case, the silence strategy is still working, just not in the way you hoped. It's working by giving you the space to heal, to grow, and to eventually move on to something better. Here's what I want you to understand. The silence strategy is not about getting your ex back. That's a possible outcome, but it's not the purpose. The real purpose is to break the toxic dynamic of chasing and begging, to restore your dignity and self-respect, to create space for genuine healing and growth, to allow the relationship to either naturally restore itself on a healthier foundation or to naturally end so you can move forward. Either outcome is a win if you use the time correctly. Let me tell you about the people who successfully get their exes back using silence. They all have one thing in common. By the time their ex reaches out, they're no longer sure they even want them back. They've grown so much, they've built such a good life, they've become so attractive to other options that their ex is no longer on a pedestal. Their ex is just one option among many. And that energy, that genuine abundance, that's what makes their ex fight to win them back. Compare that to the people whose exes come back, but the relationship fails again within weeks or months. What's the difference? They were still desperate. They were still waiting. They hadn't actually changed. So when their ex came back, they fell right back into the old patterns. The neediness, the insecurity, the lack of boundaries, and their ex left again, often permanently this time. So here's what you need to do right now. First, honestly assess which of the 5 variables is the issue in your situation. Is it the reason they left? Is it how you're implementing silence? Is it their attachment style? Is it their current life circumstances? Is it what you're doing during the silence? Be brutally honest with yourself. Second, fix what you can control. You can't control their attachment style or their life circumstances, but you can control how you implement silence. You can control what you do with your time. You can control your own growth and healing. Third, extend your timeline. If you've been doing no contact for a few weeks and nothing has happened, that means nothing. Commit to at least 90 days of complete, genuine silence. No social media stalking, no breadcrumb responses, no mutual friend inquiries. 90 days of complete focus on yourself. Fourth, use this time to become genuinely attractive. Not attractive to your ex, attractive, period, to yourself, to potential new partners, to the world. Build something, create something, transform something, become someone you're proud of. And fifth, prepare yourself emotionally for both outcomes. Your ex might come back, and if they do, you need to be strong enough to evaluate whether that's actually what you want, whether they've changed, whether the relationship can be different, whether you're willing to give it another chance, or your ex might not come back. And if they don't, you need to be strong enough to accept that, to grieve it, and to move forward into new possibilities. Here's the truth that will set you free. The silence strategy hasn't failed. It's working exactly as it should. It's creating space. It's breaking unhealthy patterns. It's forcing both of you to face reality without the distortion of constant contact. Whether that leads to reconciliation or to moving on, it's the right process. The glitch in the matrix is not that silence doesn't work. The glitch is believing that silence is about controlling someone else's feelings and choices. It's not. Silence is about controlling yourself, your reactions, your dignity, your growth, your future. When you understand that, when you truly internalize that, you stop asking why your ex hasn't come back yet. You stop checking your phone every 5 minutes. You stop analyzing their social media. You stop living in the past, and you start building a future that's so compelling, so exciting, so full of possibility, that whether your ex is in it or not becomes almost irrelevant. And that's when you've truly won. Not because you got them back, but because you got yourself back. If this video has shifted your perspective, hit the like button and share it with someone who needs to hear this truth. Subscribe to the channel because we'll continue revealing the psychological realities that transform how you understand relationships, attraction, and yourself. Remember, your worth is not determined by whether someone chooses you. Your worth is inherent, and it's time you started living like you believe that. See you in the next one.